Hi everyone, this is Isa Teese.
And this is Raphael, and welcome back to episode number 5. And today we're going to be talking about what you need to know when you actually get into a relationship. Last week we spoke about what you need to know before you get into a relationship. And now, today, we're going to be speaking about what you need to know when you're actually in that relationship. So, Isatis, good
Okay.
morning to you.
Good morning to you. I am really excited about this topic because I have many people that come to me. Most of them are already in a relationship and they just go a little bit crazy with, oh my gosh, I hear all this stuff, but now I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to begin and all of that stuff. But first, I'm going to speak about those of you that are just kind of new in relationship. And one of the things that's critically important is that you start being conscious. In other words, awareness. Awareness, 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 awareness. You'll hear me say that a quadrillion times because awareness is the key to just about everything. Because if you don't have awareness, you're not going to be able to make changes, especially easily. So you may be asking, well, awareness about what? About how unhappy I am? Or about how he won't do what I want? Or she doesn't listen to anything I say? Or whatever? Well, awareness is about those things, yes. And it's about how you feel. And it's also about what is causing you to be happy, sad, mad, or glad. In other words, where are your triggers? Because if you do not know where your triggers are, then you are not going to be able to take responsibility for what's going on and shift them. So, as usual, it always comes back to you. So awareness is the first key that when you're in a relationship, or even before you get in a relationship, or even if you've been in a relationship for like 45 years, it's never too late to be aware. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship or not, I might add, because awareness is always about you. And so your relationship starts with you. That's your first relationship. Although for some people, their first relationship, they will say, is with God or spirit or something of that nature. And that's great too. And I don't want to get into religious kinds of ideas here, but I do want to say that when you feel that as your number one connection, I'm a real advocate of that. On the other hand, you also need to know that the relationship with you is the relationship with your creator, if you will, the universe, whatever your word is. So I know I kind of get off on a tangent here. So is there anything you want to fill
What
in
I
there?
want to ask you is you often talk about awareness as being the key to all of our work. Can you give a couple of ideas? It's great to say you need to be aware. How about some techniques, some ideas, some hints about how one can be more aware?
So to become aware, the very first thing you have to do is decide, make a decision that you choose to be more aware. And you can ask your question, which you know by now that I'm very big on rhetorical questions. What would it take for me to be more aware? Sometimes we have awareness coming to us with a little brush against the skin, and when that doesn't work, then it gets a little more intense. And so I'll give you an example in my own personal life about that. When I was younger and I was really living kind of a wild life, not kind of, I was definitely living a wild life.
Definitely wild and crazy.
Well, I mean, I wasn't doing drugs and that kind of thing, but I was partying, playing, dancing, going out most every night, going to bed in the middle of the night, getting up at 7, being at work. You know, I was running those things you do when you're in your 20s. And maybe some people don't these days, but at any rate, I did. And I had different little messages, if you will, to help me become more aware. And one of them was I was in multiple fender benders, if you will. And those fender benders, I didn't really catch on that they were trying to tell me something, because there's a message and a gift in every single thing that occurs in our life, but I didn't know that at the time. So for me, it was about, oh gosh, that's inconvenient, or oh gosh, I'm glad nobody got hurt, or oh gosh, how come I was the only one here and at least I didn't hit anyone, or whatever. I mean, I'd go through all these other things instead of saying, what's the universe trying to tell me? So after 2 or 3 of those, and still staying a little bit ignorant to what was trying to happen, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And this is important for you to understand yourself, this statement. Don't beat yourself up for anything from your past when you didn't know what you didn't know, because we are always coming from the best place we know how, based on the amount of knowledge and awareness that we have. So after 2 or 3 accidents, still I wasn't really getting it, if you will. And what was I trying to get? I was trying to get the message to slow down and to be more present and to focus on things that I was committed to, and to really strongly look at my priorities as to who I am, how do I choose to be in my life, what's important to me, what do I really want, and how am I going to get there to where it is that I choose to be. So after multiple accidents over the years, in 1981 had a very, very serious car accident where I don't recall whether I spoke this at the early part of the one of the earlier episodes, but the bottom line, I'll give you the short story here, is that I was very injured. The person with me was injured, and it was truly a wake-up call. I went through the windshield of the car, and that was like, hello, if you're not going to get these little messages, these little wake-up calls, then we'll have to bring out the sledgehammer. And sure enough, they did. They did, whomever the they is, the universe did. And I had an opportunity to really contemplate my life. And that meant that I was in a hospital bed sleeping upright for 3 months. I was in a wheelchair for a year. And I had to really realign my life and start to look at things. And that's when I started to really, really shift everything. So the point is, and please don't, walk around in terror now that you're going to have a car accident or something. But I can tell you that we're always getting messages that there's something there for us that we might not be paying attention to. And that includes our triggers from other people. That was a really long way to say that. What was your question?
Doesn't matter. It was a great answer. So I wanted to ask you, you were just talking about your wake-up call, your car accident. Of all the things that allowed you to shift and to create or to begin the process of awareness, what would you say was the most important or the most significant thing?
From the car accident?
Yeah.
What was my biggest takeaway?
That's another way of putting it.
My biggest takeaway was to be aware, be present. Be present. I was just walking around in a daze, but I didn't know that I was. I was asleep, for lack of a better term. And once I had my very strong wake-up call, I started seeing, perceiving, experiencing life completely differently. And from there, I made different choices. I made different decisions so I could make different choices. And I didn't know that I wasn't making them at the time. So if you're listening to this and you think, man, I don't even know what she's talking about, or I'm not sure what she's telling me I should do, or something of that nature, what I'm suggesting to you is that you literally sit down and take a moment to increase your awareness, which is what I think your question actually was. How do we increase our awareness? One of the ways is that you make the decision. And the second thing is that when you make the decision, then you can start with something very simple, like sit in a chair inside your home or outside your home. Let's say you're inside your home for now. And you close your eyes and you give yourself, you're going to open your eyes and you have literally 10 seconds to look around the room and see everything, and then close your eyes. And you have to be really impeccable with this. You can set your phone for 10 seconds or set an alarm for 10 seconds or whatever, and then close your eyes again. And then get your pen and paper that you have handy there, and you write down everything that you are able to remember. And at that point, what you do is you write, oh, the couch is green, the window shades are closed, is there a plant up there on that? I can't remember for sure. So you could write plant question mark. I mean, it's surprising. It's actually pretty stunning that we can live in a home or be anywhere that we go every day. You can do this, well, don't do this while you're driving to work, but you can kind of pay attention to notice things that you never noticed before. So that's, and then after you've written them down with your eyes closed, if you can read your handwriting after the fact, then go ahead and measure how many things are there and how many things you were accurate about and how many were on your list that actually worked. So it's a pretty telling experience. Another thing that you can do is to start your morning with the awareness of that you're going to be more aware, more present is another way of putting it. So you start the night before with a big note on your sink, somewhere that you will see it for sure, and you can say awareness. And now what you get to do is you can start with when you brush your teeth. You notice how it feels on your toothbrush, how the teeth feel on your toothbrush, how the flavor of the toothpaste is being perceived in the mouth. Is your mouth watering? Is the flavor something that you like or don't like? Are there areas when you investigate with your tongue that are still feeling a little scrappy when you are doing it? So you go back over that. It's amazing what happens when you put all of your focus just right in your mouth and you are totally present with brushing your teeth. It's pretty phenomenal, actually. And so you're done doing your teeth and you just observe that. There's no right or wrong to this. This is really okay to be the way that it is. This is just about awareness. It's not about doing it right, because there isn't a right. So then you can go to the next thing then, and that may be that for women, we'll skip you for right now because I could go to a whole bunch of places, but men may not relate with makeup and lotion and cream on your face and all of that. So we'll go straight to getting dressed. So notice when you get dressed where you want to first put your leg. Is it the right leg that you want to put in your pants or your jeans or whatever you're wearing? And if it is, immediately shift to your left and notice the difference in the feeling between the right and left leg. Just do it differently. It's a very powerful tool. Another thing you can do is, since we're in free speech, I'm just going to say this. When you go to the bathroom, notice, do you fold your paper or do you bunch it up? And notice, just out of curiosity, why you do that. It's just like you don't even have to ask why, just kind of make a note of it. So you go through every single solitary moment of your life and you become very conscious of how your body's feeling, how the environment is being experienced, what you're actually doing. And when you do this exercise for as long as you are willing to every day, at least for 15, 30 minutes. I mean, you can do it for 5 if that's all you have. But you will find that you'll be stunned, actually, at the kinds of things that occur. And I would do that every day. We, in fact, have a program right now it's called AQDQ, which is awareness quotient and desire quotient. And there's a whole exercise there that will get you through your day evaluating with a number of kind of like keeping score of what it is that you do and how conscious you are of those things happening. It's extremely powerful. I highly recommend this exercise.
When you were talking about the toilet paper, it brought such a smile to my face because we did, ECTs did a retreat about 6 months ago on awareness which is something we cover in pretty much most of our retreats. But she did that exercise with the toilet paper pretty much at the beginning of the retreat. And do you know that was the topic of conversation and of lots of different insights for the entire 3 days of our event. It was pretty amazing.
It was very powerful. And
that's just, it was really great. One, just real quick, what I do is very simple with regard to that. And that is when I'm walking, I just picture my feet touching the ground. What am I feeling? Am I slumped over? Am I back? What's my body position? But just being aware of how I'm walking is very, very powerful. So let's go to some
before you go there, sorry I have to interrupt you because I just want to say one more thing about that. And that is that many of you may know about something called a walking meditation. And a walking meditation is doing exactly what you were just speaking about, Raphael. It's that you just go out and you walk, ideally in nature, and you just pay attention to where each foot lands and what it feels like in your body, and pay attention to the reverberation that goes up your legs and how it feels literally in your body. And then you can take another section of time and you can be aware, very conscious of the foliage, the million different colors of green that there are in the world, depending upon where you live. And this is a very powerful way to learn focus and to learn awareness.
So we talked about all these things to do. Can you relate it back to how it's going to help me or help one be more aware in their relationship?
Yes. And to circle back to where it is that we began, when you have awareness first, then you're going to be conscious of what you are feeling when you are in the relationship, and you'll notice your judgments because everyone has them. And just for fun, write down your judgments, whatever they may be. And then you take a moment and you look at the judgment that you have, and at this moment you agree to yourself that, first of all, it's very important that you recognize that you're responsible for what you feel and what you say and what you do. And once that is understood, then when you have a judgment that your partner doesn't take out the trash, then you get to look inside of yourself and say, so where have I not been impeccable? Where in my whole life have I ever not been impeccable? Because most likely your judgment is that they're not impeccable. Or it might be, I can't count on them. Or it might be that they never, same thing, but I can't count on what it is that they're going to do. I can't trust them. So when you realize that there's an underlying reason that's all about you by what they're doing, then you start to do some healing work on yourself. And when you do that and you recognize that you are triggered by something that's inside of you, then you stop projecting your anger and your frustration on someone else, because I will tell you that you cannot make other people be what it is that you would like them to be. And you can try all you want to get them to change. And when you do, recognize that the issue isn't with them. I mean, they may have an issue, but that doesn't have anything to do with you. It has everything to do with yourself and how you're perceiving what's going on and how you want to control other people and your environment. Why? Because you want to feel safe. You want your world to look and feel like what you think is okay. And in doing that, most people spend their entire life trying to get the outer world to shift, which they notice they're very frustrated towards the end because they have been very poor at acquiring that capability, because people do what they want to do. So your job is to be with someone that is being the way that they're really comfortable, and you being comfortable inside yourself, so whatever they're doing is not going to create trauma and stress inside of yourself.
So all of what Isatis is just talking about is the mirroring effect. And it was beautiful the way you put that. because it's always about yourself. And I have this great story. A couple days ago, I was talking in a panel, and the panel moderator asked me a question about how we can reduce conflict in the world. And my answer was very similar to what Isati said, which is basically take responsibility and recognize that all the conflict comes from within you. It's not the other person. And this person, the moderator, looked at me and shook his head and said, yeah, maybe. And the reason I'm telling this story is this is a very difficult concept for most people to accept off the bat. And maybe you're having resistance with regard to that. It's natural to always think, and to be quite honest with you, in my relationship with Isatis, I still do that. I mean, I have to bring myself back, but it's just a natural tendency. So what I'm suggesting is that the nature of self-evaluation, of self-awareness, is something that is a constant thing that you have to keep up with. And even though it may feel strange at first, and if you tell people about that, be prepared, because it's a hard concept for them to get. So I just wanted to share that, because it is, if you have any takeaway from today, this is the most important thing that I think you'll be able to take with you.
I think that is a great story, and it is a very important one. And I admittedly sometimes speak beyond where some people are, because I have been speaking, teaching, coaching, all these things for so long. There's certain things that they're so ingrained in me. It's so my life that I don't think about it in a way like it is. For me, it's not about. It's not in question. I don't think about it at all, because it just is. It really just is. And because of that, what I find is that you're really handy to have around, because you can bring it back to the beginning parts of something that is more simple, for lack of a better term, and more understandable. Please don't expect that these things are going to necessarily resonate with you right away. That's okay. You remember that we are here to help you be exposed to new ideas, or ideas that you already have, and to bring them back to your memory. And if they resonate for you, great, then go with it. And if they don't resonate for you, great. Stay open to the possibility that maybe someday you will, or just shut it out. See, you have free will to decide what it is that you would like to do with anything that occurs in your life. The reason that we are so passionate about this is because we have found that thousands of people's lives have turned into a beautiful experience. And I will give you a story, because right before we started doing this podcast, I got a text from someone that I coached, like 2 years ago or more. And he sent me a picture of him and his new wife. And the first time I met him, I was at this big CEO event, and he came up to me and he said, what do you do? And I said, I transform people's lives through relationships. And he said, oh my God, I got to talk to you. So we did some coaching about somebody that he was dating, and we went through a tremendous amount of education and an understanding about awareness, about responsibility, about how your life is really your choice, about how you perceive it. You may not be in charge of everything that occurs, seemingly, although some people with the law of attraction would really dispute that. But the bottom line is you are absolutely always 100% responsible for how you be with what is. And that's where you get the big transformation and the big joy coming after you. So this guy sent me a picture this morning with him and his new bride. And he sent the picture. He said, we're in Moscow traveling right now. And he went and told me some things. And at the end, he said, I want you to know that all of this was made possible because of the work and I don't remember his exact word, the guidance or all of the help that you gave me. And and that was something that, first of all, I love hearing things like that. And the reason that I do is because he's found joy. He said, I am so excited that I found this woman, and I would have never been able to move into this relationship had I not done the work with you. And this, by the way, was not the person that he was dating at the time he first started working with me, but he learned enough to know what was really important in relationship and how to be in relationship as a responsible person that you can share your life with without it being based on blame, judgment, and pretty many horrific fights usually.
ECTs, we're going to take a quick break right now. We'll be right back. I want to continue on something that you just said. So we'll be right back in just a moment. Okay, we're back. And what I wanted to say, two different things about the story that ECTs just told. One of the things that happened with this fellow is he was at a certain, we'll call it a vibration, a certain happiness level. He was putting out whatever his vibe was, whatever word you want to use, when he first started coming to ECTs. As he worked with ECTs, that changed, and that allowed him to attract a woman who was open to and on the same path, frequency, whatever word again you want to use. So that is how this happens. We make the change and people come into our lives. We attract people into our lives who resonate with who we then are. And that's a big piece of what we do here. And you want to say anything about that?
Just that's true, and that I know from my personal experience how people's lives change when they are willing to open up their mind to different ideas and different thought processes. If you're really adamant about what you believe and what you think and the way you're doing things, then stick with that, as I said. But my real strong sense is you wouldn't be listening to this or other podcasts or blogs or whatever it is that you do, because there's some part of you that knows that there's something else that's beyond where it is that you are. And this may stretch you out, and it may be already where you are, and there's deeper work to come forth for this, and that's exciting because we do that as well.
So we made an executive decision that we're not going to do questions today because we have so many really important points that we wanted to make, and we'll come back and ask those questions next week. The second piece that I wanted to just mention is that everything that we talk about today, and maybe today just framed in the context of a relationship with a significant other or a partner, all of the concepts that we're talking about, the mirroring, the awareness, and all the other things, apply to every aspect of your life. It's not just solely about relationships, and it is 100% about relationships. So it's something that will change everything in your life when the principles that we're speaking about can be applied, can be understood, can be you can be aware of them, and then ultimately, to whatever degree you can, change your behavior based on it.
I think that that's a really important point, which I had wanted to speak about, because the principles, we use relationship as, the medium, so to speak. I just had a flashback of when I was in chemistry, because I've mentioned before that I've in medicine, and so I was in microbiology and chemistry, and we grew things in petri dishes, and we had to use a medium to get the bacteria or the whatever to grow, and that's kind of like what this is, and what that means is that we use relationships. But relationship is just the place where we use as the medium, where there's so many other things that are available. Because if you utilize these principles like self-responsibility, self-reliance, total awareness, complete authenticity, extreme honesty. When you just take some of these things, and that's certainly not all of them, and you live your life from that level of impeccability, then you start to notice that the relationship with your partner changes, but most importantly, the relationship with yourself changes because you feel better about yourself. You feel good inside. We feel good when we do stuff in a way that feels impeccable and that we're following through and learning and expanding, and we then come from a place of overflow, because when you are in relationship with someone, it's really about giving. It's really about contributing. What can I do? Many times Raphael and I say to each other in the morning, what can I do today to make your life more awesome than you could ever dream or imagine? And I really mean it. I want to know what I could do that would help him have a fantastic day. And the truth is, I ask that of myself. I ask that rhetorical question: what would it take for me to have the most awesome day of my life so far? And when you send that message out to the universe, great things come to you and can happen for you. And when you share that with your partner, what you're doing is you are overflowing the love from your heart and from your physicality and from your physiology and from everything else that allows that person to be gotten, to felt loved, to feel honored. And when we give attention to something, that's another way of saying, I love you. And it's very, very transformational in relationships when people start being that way with each other. One of the things that I tell people when I'm coaching them is, and most of the time they're not able to do this, especially at the beginning, but if you're in relationship and your relationship is reasonable right now, kick it up a notch, by about 10 notches actually, about being kind. Be kind to each other. You wouldn't speak to most people, in all likelihood, the way you speak to your partner some of the time. Think about that. Would you use that tone of voice? Would you use that sarcasm? Now, maybe you're a person who does, but I promise you that people don't feel safe around you when you do that. And if you do that some, kick back and don't do that. Stop that. Catch yourself before you do that. Or if you say something that is unkind, say, I apologize for that. That's not the way I choose to be. That's not who I really am. And even if it feels corny or feels strange, who cares? For gosh sake, this is about you and you feeling good inside your body and you feeling loved and lovable. And you will feel loved and lovable when you are giving and giving and giving some more and contributing not only to your partner, but what you find is you start contributing to life. And when you start to recognize that when you have the ability to help someone feel really awesome about themselves, then they're going to go out and help somebody else feel awesome about themselves. And then you're going to go out and do another person. And every person, it's just kind of like, I don't know, like network marketing. You just tell everybody something. You tell them about what's up for you, or you tell somebody about a good movie. You share what's on you. You can't help it. We're just people doing people things. And that really can help you be very powerful as a change in the world. You've all heard Gandhi say, be the change that you would like to see in the world.
And so when you are like that, you're not only doing all those great things for your partner and for the world as it spreads, you're just raising your level of happiness and acceptance and love in yourself, and that will change everything for you.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
So I'm really glad you said that. I was going to come around to that, to that point. But now what I would like to talk about is, for me, what I did was at some point, and it wasn't at the very beginning, I must be honest, I just made a commitment to love my partner, to be grateful for everything about my partner, even if I maybe in that particular moment might not have been feeling it. So waking up, feeling gratitude, feeling that love, and just wanting to share that love and do anything that will make that person feel more loved has worked wonders for me.
And I'll tell you, it's worked wonders for me too. It's pretty phenomenal, and I'm in such gratitude to you for the shifts that you have made and how much kinder and how much more loving and accepting than you have ever been in all the time that I've known you. And I makes me want to cry because I'm just feel so different, and I feel so much safer and so much more loved in the relationship because of that. It means a lot. It means a lot to anyone when you are that way with them. One of the things that's very cool that Raphael has done in the past and even now is that when he gets, I don't even know what the right word is, but triggered is probably too strong of a word, but just kind of feeling a little, rub.
Pissy?
Pissy? Is that what you said? Yeah, okay, pissy. What he makes the decision in that moment, and he says to me, I'm just going to love you even more. I'm just going to love you even more. And when you make that affirmation, confirmation, declaration, what occurs is that it tells the universe that you're not going to let your stuff get in the way of the love. And when you are willing to move through your stuff and keep commitment to the love, everything changes. I tell you, everything changes. And believe me, there are times when that is seemingly impossible to say. That's okay. Do the best you can. But come back to it and come back to it and come back to it. Or whatever it is that works for you, to always bring your focus back to being kind, being loving, being giving, being supportive, and being compassionate. This is something that we didn't talk about today, but I'd like to just say something about compassion. Because if you had people be as rough on you as maybe you are with other people, you would probably find that you'd be pretty crippled internally, emotionally. So give people a break. Give yourself a break. My goodness, we are all doing the best we can based on the place we're in. That doesn't mean that we don't keep moving forward to the next step and the next step and the next step. But it definitely does mean that when you see somebody doing something that they're still doing, even though you don't want them to do it, that you just stop, take a breath, and be compassionate and say, first of all, I know this is my stuff. Get responsible right off the bat. You have the awareness, you get responsible, and internally you can say to yourself, I know he's doing the best he can, or I know she's doing the best she can, and that's not like making an excuse for them, but it's about you taking your stuff off of them. And you bring your energy back to yourself, and you put your focus on your heart, and you quiet yourself down, and you can do this yourself. This doesn't take, some magical person to do it for you. You just have to decide what's important to you. In other words, how big of a priority is your relationship? Because if your relationship with yourself is not a priority, and your relationship with your partner is not a priority, or your relationship with your money, your body, your health, the environment, whatever, if they do not hold a place of priority, then you are not going to make a point of staying aware and making different choices when you are given the option to be able to do that. And then you'll sit there and wonder, wow, I wonder why my relationship's so yucky.
I want to unpack this just a little bit. 2 points. One is just by saying, I choose to be more loving. I choose to be more compassionate. I choose to be more understanding is creating an openness and an empowerment for you to feel good about yourself. And knowing that you have the choice, one has the choice to do and think the way they want to rather than with regard to the old programming.
That is very, very true. This is how we build self-empowerment. This is how we build our own self-confidence, is by doing something that we might normally not do. And it takes a big person, so to speak, not physically, but a big emotional commitment to just own what is. I'm one of the things that's another hint is that when you are in a crummy mood or you're just really angry, it might be something about work or something else that's not even related to your partner. Instead of coming home and putting that on them, you can walk in the door and you can say, I just want you to know it's probably good to steer clear of me right now because I had a really rough day. I haven't processed all the way through it. So it's not about you. If I seem grumpy, it's not about you. So just, if you need to, take a wide berth.
And I just have to say, just in a matter of transparency, the I choose statement that I just spoke about is really Isatis's. Isatis created a whole coaching program called the I Choose program, I Choose Transformation program, that she uses in our coaching to help people create and take responsibility and empowerment for what they do. So that's a really, really important piece that has really worked wonders for me, and I just felt like I needed to pass that along.
If you start every sentence with I choose, if you didn't do anything else, you would turn into a completely different person, one that is fully responsible, more empowered, more authentic. The miracles would be fun to write down, really. It's awesome.
You can see how Isatis and I get really excited. We kind of like feed off each other with this stuff. And for me, as the person who's learned all of this from Isatis and now I'm starting to apply it in my life, it is beyond awesome.
It is very cool.
Cool. Okay, so we are going to move to our last section. We'll do the questions next week. And what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the living in the world of possibility section, about how questions can open everything up for you. Isatis?
The question I'd like to leave you with this week is, what would it take for me to accept whomever it is? Well, for right now, I'm going to come back to this, but we can use your partner. What would it take for me to accept, for example, Raphael exactly the way he is? Or what would it take for me to accept Mary exactly the way she is, or whomever it is that comes to your mind? And just every time you find yourself triggered, then say that question, and maybe just say it anyway, because catch it before you even trigger. And what's very powerful about this statement is you can, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you use it with everybody and everything. So what would it take for me to accept that I had a car accident? And what would it take for me to accept, and we can use this what would it take for me to accept as the beginning of anything that you find yourself in resistance to. But this week we're really focusing on what would it take for me to accept whomever it is that your partner is exactly the way that he or she is. It's amazing what happens. And remember, with these questions, they're rhetorical, which means that you're not looking for an answer. You don't write down an answer. You just allow yourself to be open to anything that comes through your mind throughout the day, throughout the week, whatever. You don't have to focus and make it an exercise. You can, but I've found it to be more powerful when I just let it go and find miraculous things just kind of come to me through my thought process.
We'll be doing another show about that, to talk more about that. But right now, just know it's a very, very powerful technique that will really serve you very, very well. So we're going to wrap up now. We would like to ask you to send in questions. isatis@isatis.com. Just email them. Please give us your comments, what you like about the format of our show, or anything you'd like to see us do differently or in addition to. We're here to serve you. So please give us feedback. We really would love to know how best that we're getting our point to get our point across and to share what it is we know. And the other thing that we have is as I said last week, we have I think it's a 12-page PDF ebook on the 8 telltale signs your relationship is in trouble. So the link is below here. Please fill that out, get that. The reason that's so powerful is it reinforces a lot of the things that we've been talking about and may help focus you even more. So we encourage that. And lastly, please subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends about it. Know that by just sharing this podcast with others, you're going to be changing the world. So we ask that you do that, subscribe, and join us and comment with us.
Thanks, Raphael. That's really helpful for us to be reminded. Take a moment right now, right in this very moment, and think of somebody that you know that's had some difficulty in any kind of relationship, with a partner, with their health, maybe with their money, with their children, with one of their pets. Maybe one of their pets is dying. It doesn't matter, but think of someone and forward this information. Let them know that this is available for them, because it will be applicable to them. And it really is one of the ways that you can start giving in a more profound way than you ever have before. Remember, when we speak of these principles, it's not just about your partner. It's about everyone. It's about the world, if you will. And you start living your life that way, things really, really do shift. And the last thing is, when you send in your questions, please put in the subject line podcast question. That will help me ferret through much more readily. Podcast question. That'd be really awesome. And I look forward to receiving them.
Awesome. So we will say goodbye for this week, and we will see you next week.
I'm looking forward to it. You guys make this the most awesome week of your life so far. Feel a hug.
Take care, everybody.